Celso Amorim, thanks for joining me on UpFront. Is the Brazilian government losing the battle to stop the spread of the Zika virus?
No, I don't think the Brazilian government is losing the fight. I think, of course, this is a big problem. It was an unexpected one. I just participated in a high-level panel by the Secretary General of the United Nations. And, well, one of the characteristics of pandemics is that they normally are unexpected. But I think Brazil actually acted very quickly and with great transparency. And I think also because of our system to follow up in newborn babies, it was possible to detect these statistics relations, which was really the root of the concern with microcephaly.
Yes, this disease that causes brain damage in babies. Several Latin American governments, Colombia, El Salvador, Ecuador, have officially called on women in their countries to delay getting pregnant. A Brazilian health ministry official in November advised Brazilian women to wait several months before getting pregnant, and then he withdrew the remark. Should that be the official policy in Brazil?
Well, this is a new thing, you know. I mean, everything has to be seen cautiously, but the correlation so far is a statistical one. I'm not a doctor myself or an epidemiologist, but what I think is that you have to be very prudent. So if there is a risk there, even if it, let us say, scientifically is not totally proved that it's only the virus or the virus combined to something else, I think it's better to be on the safe side.
As with many countries in mostly Roman Catholic Latin America, Brazil currently outlaws abortion except in cases of rape and incest or when the mother's life is at risk. Should abortion now be made legal for pregnant women who discover they're infected with the virus? The Catholic Church in your country says no.
Well, I can only give a personal opinion on that because these are very deep questions that have to do with how people feel. My personal view is that, of course, this is a situation is not the same as the one that recently the High Court, the Supreme Court, decided that it was possible, but I think it's a similar one. The other one was total incapacity of the brain to work.
Are you saying that you favor the relaxing of restrictions on abortion in cases of the Zika virus, pregnant women infected with the Zika virus?
That's what I personally defend, yes. I think that would be in line with the reproductive rights of women, and that is in line, maybe it's not exactly the same thing, but in line with the recent decision of the Supreme Court on a case in which there is total brain incapacity. But that requires an evolution from society. I hope we'll be ready to do that, whether it will be necessary to change the law or the Supreme Court to make a larger or more broader interpretation than so far it made. I don't know, but it's my personal opinion that the regulation should be relaxed. Because, you know, I haven't learned of any case of an upper middle class or high class person or even middle class person maybe that has that problem of having the Zika. I know people who had the Zika, but I didn't know they had the Zika and then had the problem of microcephaly with their babies. That is also, as many other pandemics, a disease of the poverty and a disease of inequality. The governments I served and the party that I belong to have for a long time fought against inequality. But so far, our fight was not complete yet. We have to do more on that regard. More against inequality, because Brazil is a very unequal country.
You say more. Right now, I believe there are almost 1 million women every year have illegal, unsafe abortions in Brazil. Surely that number's only going to go up now with the fears over Zika virus.
What happens in Brazil is that in practice abortion is theoretically illegal, but in practice, of course, the people who are rich or even upper middle class or even some middle class have access to safe abortions, and they do it, and of course they go away with it, and that's fine. I think it should be like that. But the poor women who depend on public services and who depend on the system of the National Health Service, these are the ones who suffer because they don't have access to these clinics, to the safe clinics, and because they don't have the money to pay. So I gave my opinion very clearly on that, and I have a very clear position on that. But it doesn't mean that everybody in my party or in my government think the same way. But I know there are political difficulties. There are lots of lobbies inside Congress which will fight against that. That's why maybe the route through the Supreme Court might be a shorter one, but the Supreme Court has to be provoked by a concrete case, maybe. And if someone does that, then it will up to the Supreme Court to judge.
Given Zika has been declared a global public health emergency by the World Health Organization, given countries like Kenya have said they might pull out of the Rio Olympics this summer, and the US Olympic Committee is also considering its position, several high-profile athletes have said they might not attend. Given all that, are you worried that the 2016 Olympics might actually be taken away from Brazil, or at the very least turn into a public relations disaster for your country come August?
Well, I don't think so. I think Brazil has faced in the past many challenges. I think it will face this one. I think what you mentioned in Kenya has already been denied by the Kenyan sports authorities. I think generally the important, I think the sports should follow. Of course, everyone would be free to do whatever he or she wants, but the opinion of the World Health Organization is that there are no reasons for any travel restriction. Of course, if there are pregnant women, then they might think twice, especially if they go to some places. But in Rio de Janeiro, and in this time of the year of the Olympic Games, it will be winter. Other diseases which are, let us say, carried by the same vector, by the same carrier, which is the Aedes aegypti, they don't happen. They don't take place. If you go to statistics, you'll see that they don't take place in the winter.
Do you think some countries are picking on Brazil, that if it was another country, a Western country, they wouldn't be saying these things about possibly not turning up because of this virus?
Well, you know, if you start to worry about everything, you can't go to an European country because of terrorism, you can't go to another country because of another kind of disease or because of some racial discrimination. I think in Brazil you won't find those kind of problems. And I'm sure that the threat of the Zika will be, I would not say that it will be totally under control, but it will be under control in the places where the games will take place, where the competition will take place. And I don't see, and especially in Rio de Janeiro, it's very unlikely. I mean, I'm not a doctor, I would repeat that, but the experience shows that this time of the year, it doesn't happen.
As foreign minister under former President Lula, you helped mastermind Brazil's rise on the world stage. And when Rio was awarded the Olympics back in 2009, it was one of the fastest growing economies on earth. Today, you have not just a health crisis, but a political and economic crisis. You have protests, corruption scandals. Your president might get impeached. Brazil's standing in the world has been damaged, hasn't it?
Well, I don't think so. I think it's, of course, we are going through a difficult period. This is normal in any country. You cannot think you have a rising curve all the time. There are difficulties, and you're right, in economic terms, in political terms. But I think even then, I think you can tell our justice is working in total freedom. The press is totally free, so whatever has to be corrected will be corrected. I'm very confident that neither President Lula nor President Dilma did anything wrong. I'm absolutely confident on that, and I'm confident also that no impeachment action will succeed. But apart from that, it's true, we are in a difficult moment, but that's the test, you know. It's, you have to be a good sportsman, and it's not only to surf the good wave, you'll have to be able to go through storms and difficult times, and, but I'm sure we'll go through. Brazil is a very resilient country. We are progressively overcoming many normal difficulties. Mind you, Brazil doesn't have difficulties with any of its neighbors, which is a unique case for a country that has 10 neighbors. We don't have any threats, since we spoke of foreign affairs. We have any threats of conflict or anything like that. On the contrary, we have cooperation. I challenge you to find another nation with 10 neighbors, immediate neighbors, that has this situation.
Celso Amorim, thanks for joining me on UpFront.